All right. Good to see everybody. And Happy New Year. Even though it's the 7th day. But it's my first time seeing some of y'all faces. But Happy New Year anyway. Calling the City Council meeting to order. Today's date, January 7th, 2025. Next, we'll have the prayer by Pastor Mike Tabor from Rock Church. If you would, to the podium to my left, your right, and begin whenever you're ready.
First of all, I want to say thank you for having me here and just allowing the Lord to intervene in these meetings and these proceedings. The word of the Lord says, acknowledge me in all thy ways, and I will direct your path. Let us pray. Father, we come before you right now in the name of Jesus Christ, Lord, asking you to guide the minds and the wills of these people, Lord, to do your will that Kinston might be a great city. It's already a great city, but Lord, we want to do your will, that you have your way. God, we ask you to bless the mayor, the city council members, the sheriff, the fire chief, and every leader in this city, Lord God, that you bless them and give them wise counsel, wise decision-making skills, Lord God, that we will be productive and do what it is you called us to do. Lord, we ask you to have your way in this place and protect each and every person that runs and rules and makes decisions in the city of Kinston. This is a great city, and I thank you for what you're going to do here and what you've already done here, and we thank you for being present here in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Tabor. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Swenson,
Here.
Councilmember Solomon,
Present.
Councilmember Suggs, Councilmember Seifert, Mayor Pro Tem Hardy.
Present.
All right, all present are accounted for. Councilwoman Seaforth will be here momentarily. She's attending another meeting, but she'll be on her way. Are there any citizen comments?
Yes, sir.
All right, under citizen comments, citizens must sign in before the start of the meeting. If they wish to address the city council, citizens should state their name and address before beginning their comments and may speak up to a maximum of 3 minutes. Citizens seeking assistance or asking questions will be contacted by a member of the governing body or by appropriate city staff. Madam Clerk.
Curtis Henderson,
Mr. Henderson.
We ready to go? Ready? Good evening, City Council, Parks and Recs, Kinston Police Department, Fire Department. First thing I want to say is that I come representing Hope to Destiny for Youth. We are a nonprofit organization geared towards educating our youth on gun violence, gang violence, and substance abuse. And I want to express that we, on December the 23rd, had our 4th annual toy drive, and it was quite a success for the city's children. I think we gave out over 1,000 toys, and we raffled off about 30 bicycles, and I think that was real great. And I've also like to thank the chief and Kinston Police Department for the toys that they donated. Thank you, guys. And I've also got to thank the Mayor Hardy, and Mayor Pro Tem Hardy for their participation. They interacted with the kids and the parents, and I believe we had quite a great time out there giving back to this community. And hopefully next year I'll be able to see the rest of my council members to come interact with the children and the adults. Hopefully so. And hopefully next year, the Parks and Rec and the Kinston Fire Department would give us a few toys to give to the kids. But anyway, it was a great, full success. And like I said, I'd like to thank all that participated and was involved. Now, starting Monday, you guys, the 13th, I will be doing our second annual coat drive. You know, it's getting a little cold out there, and a whole lot of kids and a whole lot of less fortunate adults don't have simple things as coats. And I will be collecting coats at my shop at 611 North McElwain Street. So if anybody wants to donate, please, by all means, bring a couple coats for the kids or the less fortunate adults. I will be collecting them all the way up until February the 28th. And on the 1st of March, I will distribute them to the community. And hopefully, you guys, this time, the rest of the council members and the mayor pro tem, Parks and Rec, Kinston Police Department, I know you guys, y'all always support me. I appreciate that. And Fire Department, y'all come on and join in and donate a few things, and let's help these kids and help the less fortunate. And on the end of that, if I could, maybe a little later on, y'all might give me a little insight on what's going on with the community grant. Because, you know, it's about time for us to sign up for it again next month. Well, not next month, but March. And we haven't heard anything. So if you could just enlighten us a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Madam Clerk, will there be any others?
Yes, sir. Krista Hill.
Mayor Hardy, before Ms. Hill comes, didn't the organizational support get approved last month? Okay, so the applications are posted online.
Yes,
are
the
available.
applications are posted online and they're due February the 28th.
Okay, all right.
February the 1st.
First.
Okay.
To the city clerk.
All right. The application for the current process is now made available online on the city's website, or you can get a copy here at City Hall. There wasn't a program conducted last year. This is for this current fiscal year, the organizational support process is now open.
If you submitted for the fiscal year 25 funding, then we should already have that one in place, but it would have had to have been for the fiscal year 25 funding and not fiscal year 24. There was funding in 24. We did it. We did give out grants for fiscal year 24 funding. We are now in fiscal year 25, and it was postponed from August to now.
If I could help, Mr. Henderson, in years past, the council would accept applications before, in my opinion, they had the money allocated. So last year, what we've done is, in July, they adopted the budget, and then after that is when we put the organizational support out, and that's the process we're in now. So if you have already filled one out, and we've got it, because there was a delay, we'll be glad to look to see if we've got one, but it needs to be in by February the 1st to access the funds that are available now. The clerk has been out of the office for a couple of days. We'll check with her and see what you've got. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to clarify. You all know I hate when people make a comment and we don't go ahead and clarify things. So the process for everyone listening is currently open, and we'll probably make another reminder at the end of the meeting to get applications in before February 1st.
Thank you for the point of clarification, Councilmember Suggs and Director Goodson and Manager Ballwood. As we move forward, hopefully that clarification is understood on the website, and I know and I understand where you're going and how long it's been. So we look forward to moving forward. However, with the current modifications that we made. All right. All right. All right. Is there any further citizen comments?
Yes, sir. Crystal Hill.
Ms. Hill, come to the podium to my left. You're right.
Hey, y'all. My name is Crystal. I own a business out on Highway 70, 1893, right beside Cobb Road. It's a sweepstakes. And I got a letter in the mail on December the 9th for a violation, for notice of violation.
What's your current address?
1893, Highway 70 East.
All right. Thank you.
I have came today to talk with y'all to see about if maybe possible we could get the ETJ changed out there to a different business district, or however y'all do it. It would be like possible revenue for the city. I've been in the gaming business for a long time. The county, when I was in the county, we were paying for the machines. They got money for every machine that was listed. I'm just trying to do something before, I have college kids that work for me, before I let them go and have to shut down all the way. I am, I think, 25 feet maybe from being out of the ETJ. But it would be possible revenue for the city. Like we pay $100 per machine that's in there, whatever, just like we did for the county. I was just asked, I talked to Ms. Blount, and she was kind of, telling me what I needed to do a little bit, trying to help me to come and talk with y'all. And I'm sorry, I am nervous because I've never had to come talk in front of a group of people. But pretty much, I wanted to see if there was any way possible we could get maybe that little area right there changed. And no sweepstakes in the heart of Kinston at all. I understand that, like completely, because that would just bring, but I do have a business there. I have college kids that work for me. I have older citizens that come and play with me, and I'm willing to pay. Y'all are fine for it, whatever per machine. And it would, like I said, it'd be revenue for the city to come in. The county gets it for gaming. Why can't y'all get it and have a little bit of revenue coming in? I would like it if y'all could take in consideration for this.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. I do appreciate your comments. And what we'll do is we'll follow back up with you on some further discussion, because it's going to be probably in-depth conversation.
Okay.
So I look forward to having a conversation with you and Ms. Blount and some other individuals as it relates to that.
Okay. Thank
All right.
y'all very much for letting me have y'all's time.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Clerk, were there any further citizen comments?
No, sir.
All right. Madam Clerk, are there any minutes for the December 3rd, 2024 to be considered for approval at this meeting? Are there any minutes available for the December?
Minutes will be approved at the next meeting, which is January the 21st.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, let the record reflect. We're going to remove, actually, we're going to go out of order on the presentation and recognitions. The item number 2. Item number 2 will be the next item on the agenda. Fiscal year 2024 annual financial presentation. Fiscal 24 annual financial presentation. I'm going to push that to Ms. Goodson.
Thank you, Mayor. Under the North Carolina Administrative Code for auditors, that an auditor must present the audited financial statements to the governing board or audit committee in an official meeting in open session as soon as the audited financial statements are available, but not later than 45 days after the submission of the audit report to the North Carolina Local Government Commission. The City of Kinston's audit report for the year ending June 30th, 2024 was submitted to the LGC file transfer portal on November the 27th, 2024. Therefore, the auditing firm of RHCPA's PLLC will be presenting the audit report tonight at this council meeting.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Goodson. Mr. Auditor, if you would, you can go ahead and proceed when you're ready to make sure we can hear you. You can move.
Okay. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Hi, I'm TD Hill. I am with RH CPAs, and I believe Matthew Finney was the manager on site, but he was not feeling well, and I'm filling in for him. Let me share my screen. I have a presentation. Can you see that?
Yes, sir. It's
Can you
showing
see?
on the screen. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay. Talk about the status. The field work obviously has been completed. Financial statements have been prepared and it's been approved. We've filed and been approved by the LGC. Let's talk a little bit about auditor independence. We have to be, government auditing standards state that we have to be independent, both mind and appearance. No events have occurred to impair our independence with the city of Kinston. Then planning. We obviously do a robust planning process, which includes obtaining an understanding of your internal controls over key areas. Then we perform a risk assessment, and we basically we look at key areas and we perform a risk-based audit approach. Then we perform audit procedures to obtain sufficient evidence to render an opinion. In our opinion, basically it looks at whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement as a whole. We provide reasonable assurance, not absolute, but reasonable assurance. And in addition, some single audits were required for 2024. So basically we have our opinion on the basic financial statements and the major programs. We have an unmodified opinion. What that is, that's the top opinion, or a clean. You guys have a clean opinion. We also have some required supplementary information. There was the management discussion and analysis and some various schedules, changes in pension liability and schedules of total pension and required liabilities. We have individual fund statements and schedules. We didn't have any no findings there. And there were several adjustments. One thing I do want to point out, there were several adjustments in journal entries made, but the majority of these were provided by the city. And that's just a testament to the good finance staff that you guys have. There was some water and sewer capital asset condition. This was a data input worksheet. It was a 0.45 and a remaining useful life asset, anything less than 0.50 may signal that you might need to replace some of these assets in the near future. Been running those things kind of long. There were no accounting policy changes. All your estimates, they appear reasonable. There was no disagreements with management, and there were no difficulties encountered with the finance staff or anybody. We had complete cooperation from the entire staff. Let's look at the results. General fund summary. Look, the blue is the revenues and the green is the expenditures. Looking at for 2024, we had more revenues than expenditures. So that was good. And sometimes, from a timing difference, expenditures can be more than revenues, like it was in 2023. We've got a good trend there. This is very impressive. Now, some of this was from the electric fund going into the general fund. But if you look back there at 2021, your general fund balance, and that's basically what the That's basically what the city's net worth is. 2021, it was 8.5 million. In 2024, it's a little over 19 million. So you guys have done a very good job of managing the city and being a good steward for the taxpayers. That is a very impressive slide there. This is a breakdown of the general fund balance. 81% of it is unassigned, so you've got a lot of capability in what you want to do. Then the adequacy of resources, the general fund. This is basically how long could you sustain the general fund if no more revenues at 6/30. And for 2024, you got approximately 9 months, which was an increase of approximately 2 months over 2023, which is obviously that trend is trending very well since 2021. Very impressive. General fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. Again, that's going up. Again, very impressive. Then property taxes, revenues from 2021 to 2024, the trend up just a little bit, but very consistent. Then other taxes and licenses. This is your second source of revenue, second largest source of revenue. This is local sales tax, franchise tax, occupancy tax, gross receipt tax. That's trending well. Okay, let's look about where'd you spend your money? Obviously, a large part was public safety. The blue is 2023 and the amber is 2024. Then Parks and Rec, a little bit of general government, public services, a little capital outlay there, and debt service and community development. Then enterprise fund summary. Looking at this, we are obviously the revenues are blue, then the expenditures are green. We're making money on every year there, and we're trending well. Then the adequacy of resources on the enterprise funds. Basically, this is how long could you sustain the enterprise funds if no more resources were coming in at 6/30. For 2024, it's approximately 14 months. And again, trending very well in this graph. So major takeaways. Again, unmodified opinion, which is the top opinion. You get a clean opinion. Overall financial condition. The general fund balance increased by almost $3 million to a little over 19 million. Enterprise fund net position increased by 13.6 million to 181.6 million. We had no disagreements with management, no difficulties encountered, and we had complete cooperation from the staff. The water and sewer capital assets may need to be replaced in the near future. Any questions?
Any questions from the council as pertains to the audit report? Hearing none, seeing none. Thank you very much, and thank you, Ms. Goodson, for you and your entire team doing a job well done on the financial audit for 2024.
Thank you. It was an honor to present, an honor to serve you guys. If you need any help or anything or assistance, please reach out to us.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate you and your time and you stepping in and doing the report for us.
Yeah, it was an honor to present.
Yes, sir. All right, next on the agenda, under action, special use permit request to operate a metal smelting facility at 2233 Highway 258 South, Director Blount.
All right. Good evening. This is a special use request from C. Dwight Howard to do a high-impact manufacturing. A high-impact manufacturing processing, creating, repairing, renovating, painting, cleaning, assembly of goods, merchandise, and equipment within a fully enclosed building. Staff received this request from Mr. Howard to operate a metal smelting facility. The closest land use in our ordinance that fits this process is the use that is listed on the screen. This is an area of the existing property. You may recognize this property because it came before council in November for rezoning. So the entire property has been rezoned to IB industrial business. Surrounding zoning districts are B1 general business and RA6 residential to the north, IB and agricultural, which is county zoning to the south, RA6 residential and IB to the east, and B1 and IB to the west. Surrounding developments are vacant lots to the north, east, and west, and vacant lot and houses to the south. The property is located within the mixed-use and rural residential future land use sectors. The proposed use is not in compliance with the city's comprehensive land use, which recommends primarily commercial with multifamily residential use in the mixed-use sector and low-density residential and agricultural uses in rural residential. Nonetheless, the existing building is vacant and could be repurposed for a light industrial land use project without infringing on existing residential homes. This is a picture of the property and the building. This is the site plan that shows how the process will be done entirely within the enclosed building. Included in your package were supplemental regulations for chemical and hazardous material storage, bulk petroleum plants, and LP gas and storage. Although this process may not use these materials, these regulations are tied to the land use the application is requesting. Your package also includes the criteria for special use requests. The planning board recommended approval of this request at their December meeting, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions from the council as pertains to Mr. Attorney? Go ahead.
Well, as you know, this is a special use permit application, so it is a quasi-judicial proceeding which requires that witnesses be sworn. It's a due process proceeding similar to a court proceeding. The council takes evidence and decides whether that evidence meets the criteria in the code. Certain evidence has to be presented by experts, but you have to wait and see if you get into that. But initially, I would say that anybody who's going to testify needs to be sworn.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney, for the record. Director Blount, would you like to entertain any further?
No, sir.
All right, having said that, we're now in the public hearing. Are there any to speak in favor of or in opposition of? Are there any to speak in favor and for the applicant? All right. Are there any others to speak in favor of or in opposition of? Would there be any others to speak in favor or opposition of? Hearing none, seeing none. Madam Clerk, will you administer the oath of? Madam Clerk, whenever you're ready. Or you can administer. Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you, Director Blount. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Attorney.
I was here before you right before Christmas. I'm Dal Wooten. I'm here representing Mr. Howard. As you may recall, this is the old Roger Carter building. He used to build modular classrooms there. It's a very large building where you can put tractor trailers and modular units 14 by 70 in there. Mr. Howard has the ability to sell it to Mr. Taylor, who's already in the business of smelting old aluminum tire rims. And basically the smelting process is to heat it up to basically burn off the impurities. He is subject to the state and federal EPA laws. He's in compliance with that. And this would be wholly, all the materials, everything would be inside this building. Right now he's operating out of a small house out on 258 South. And some of the questions have been asked me in prior hearings. Is there a smell? I'm not aware of any smell that emanates from this. The only thing that's gonna be visible, on the building that's different from what you saw in those photographs is a smokestack coming out because it has to be vented for a gas furnace.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Anything from the council as it relates to the conversation that surrounds the synergy of the smelting facility?
So anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Public hearing now closed. Yield it back to the council. I get an opportunity to, we'll do it again. Is there anything from the council? Would like to entertain any questions at this moment as it relates to the smelting facility? Hearing none. Seeing none. Director Blount.
Sir.
Anything further you would like to entertain?
No, sir.
Having said that, entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
So move there second.
Second.
So moved and properly second. Under discussion. Under discussion. Under discussion. Hearing none. Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. All right, next, under presentations and recognitions, we're going to do January 1st, 2025 retiree presentation. Tiffany Smith, HR Director. Bobby Cox, Recreation Program Supervisor 1. Naturalist. Kinston, Illinois County Parks and Recreation Department.
All right. Tonight I want to congratulate Bobby Cox, who's here with us, on his retirement. Bobby Cox retires officially on February 1st with 30.4 years of service. Yeah. For those that don't know Bobby, which I'm sure is very few, Bobby works at the Nature Center. He takes care of the animals, does events for the children. He has so much knowledge, especially the last few weeks. I've really learned that Bobby knows a lot about the city. So it's going to be greatly missed when he does leave us. We hope he comes back. But I do want to congratulate him, and Scott probably has a few words for him.
Bobby, we on behalf of Parks and Recreation, we really will miss you. Your dedication to the department. I've grown up with you over the past few years. I looked up to you when I first started, and you taught me a lot, and you were a resource to our department, not only at the Nature Center, but programming. He helped us get our parade lined up throughout the years and made great suggestions to make it is what it is today. So without his guidance, I think I learned a lot. Our department learned a lot, and he guided our younger employees. So on behalf of our Parks and Recreation, we thank you for your years of service. And we can't thank you on wrangling snakes like you do. His replacement has already hit the ground running, and he's a better man than me for dealing with reptiles. But we thank him greatly, and hear a few words from Bobby.
I just want to say thank you for supporting me throughout the years and being there for me. I mean, it takes a lot of us to make one thing happen, and you guys have always been a great support to us. And you know, our Nature Center is a big commodity to our area. I mean, there's not many places you can go that has a public-run nature center that was built and created off of donations, community involvement, and all the departments that we have here in the city just coming together and building a miraculous park. And I just want to see it continue to grow. Like he said, my replacement, Jonathan, is taken over already. I got to work with him for a couple of weeks and do some training with him, and he's going to be fabulous. You guys will be just as impressed, I'm sure. But I want to thank you guys for just being there for me when I needed you.
So I just want to say congratulations to you, Bobby. 30.5 years of service to the city. Indeed, something that was, I hope, not painful. However, thank you so very much for being here with us. And every time I go to the Nature Center, I always see Bobby Cox, and Bobby say, "Hey, man, you want to come out here? Look, come on, and let me show you something else." whatever they had going on, he invited us out to see what he had going on, and he's no stranger to the flooding that take place out there as well. So whoever is filling your spot here next is gonna have to deal with that part too. The cleanup, that's a big deal, and we do appreciate you, your efforts, and everything you've done, and that hard work. And I always remember going out there and looking at the animals that I didn't want to really touch, or the reptiles and things of that nature I didn't want to touch. But I do appreciate you, and thank you so very much. We'll take a photo up front.
Yeah, Mayor, may I just say
Go right
one
ahead.
thing? Bobby, I think it's fair to speak on behalf of the North County Public Schools when, to express how much we're going to miss you. When you talk about the legend of Bobby Cox, I'm telling you, it's never failed, the times that you've hosted us as a collective group. The stories that people tell about you, and the good thing about it is that it's not always what you say about you, but what the people say. Yeah. And so you have established a reputation, a work ethic, your knowledge of the ins and out that is impeccable. And just knowing that we've had 30-some years of you serving, and then moving into this role at the Nature Center, just thank you for always being such a gracious host, and one of the best teachers that any of our children could ever imagine having. So.
I get a retirement from the public schools too. Actually, I really, really enjoyed working with the school system. Kids are our future, and not everybody's going to be a police officer, firefighter, mayor. Some of them just might want to work with animals. So hopefully, I can give those kids the knowledge and give them the incentive to want to do something like I do.
Yeah, and your excitement always exuded from you. Yeah.
Thank you. So. I was always excited about it.
Yeah, it was evident.
All right, next we'll have the special event permit for Kinston Teen Sunday Dinner, January through March 2025 schedule. Chief Goyette.
Thank you, sir. This is from the Kinston Teens. They've done this for the past year, once a month, sometimes twice a month. This special event permit is for Sunday, January 19th, February 16th, and March 16th. So they went ahead and knocked it out, got 3 out the way. It's for an assembly, feeding the community. It's going to take place where it always does on Tower Hill Road in between Orion Street and Taylor Lane. There will be a road closure. Never had any issues there whatsoever. They're doing a great thing there. Food will be served at this event. EMS and police will be called if needed. And no alcohol will be utilized at the event. And they will utilize Kinston Teen restrooms if needed. So no issues whatsoever. The home harmless agreement has been signed, and they have turned in a copy of their insurance. So it's been approved. Just wanted to go before you, make you aware of it. Yes.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Attorney, would you like to entertain anything? Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Thank you, Chief. Having said that, entertain a motion.
Motion.
So moved. Is there a second? Second. So moved and probably second. Under discussion. Under discussion. Under discussion. Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right. On the action agenda, resolution approving lease agreement with Edward Jones and Company Project. Director Alson.
Council, glad to see everyone tonight. What we're bringing in front of you tonight is a resolution approving the lease agreement with Edward Jones and Company. The purpose is to fill the vacant offices at the Kinston Community Center, which has been vacant for over a year now. What we're proposing and what we've agreed with Edward Jones is a 60-month term lease with a 3% increase per year. The initial rental fees will be $2,250 per month and $27,000 per year. So we've a lot of hard work going back and forth with Edward Jones, and we think we finally got this right. And we're looking forward to a good tenant and for a long-term tenant with some revenue coming in. So.
Thank you, Scott. I do appreciate your efforts in doing that research. I know it was a long time coming trying to find a tenant there.
It was painstaking, but we Nathan Perry did a great job of knocking this out, and they've been a great resource for us. So,
Thank you, Scott. Anything from the council as it relates to the lease agreement? Hearing none, seeing none, I entertain a motion.
Motion.
So moved. Is there a second? Second. So moved and probably second. Under discussion. Under discussion. Under discussion. Hearing none, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Scott. Go right ahead, manager.
Mayor, while we have Scott in front of us, he wanted to give you a quick update on the recreation master plan, just so you know where we were at this time.
Council, we've had the master plan, an update from McGill and Associates this during Christmas, and we want to just give you a quick brief from them. We started this in November, and we'll kind of show you their timeline of where they have us. We are into public input, the facility assessments, and we are into system analysis right now. So what that means is our next steps are our focus groups, ending the survey, and our focus groups should come from different areas of different demographics of our community. So you're going to see city areas, you're going to see county areas, you're going to see older folks, seniors, younger folks, parents, all demographics, and we should have that resource in soon. So if you have any groups that want to be a part, we've reached out to some of you already. Please definitely forward their name and number to me. A lot of people think it is junk mail, so we really want to hammer that home that these meetings, we really want people. And people see it in their email or their phone and say, but if you talk to anybody, we really want that input. And these are just some findings that McGill has given us. And you can say these are the resources they inventoried. We have our city on the left and our county on the right. And these are just a few of the sites they're looking at. What McGill is doing is they're benchmarking and comparing Kinston Little County's operations to NC and Eastern North Carolina and national recreation best practices. So they will show us what we're doing compared to other towns and other cities. So it'll be a good benchmark to see where we're at, what we can improve on, what our facility needs are, if we're doing some things better and some things we need assistance on. And as you can see, this is just some more information they gave us. That you'll see a lot more information probably at the end. They'll do their presentation at the end and compile this all together and give you a big format and come and present. But this is just some tidbits they gave us. We're a small system in terms of acres. It's below the national median. The county has looked at the Caswell and King properties to add acreage and nature parts to there. They have talked about that. But a bulk of our system is in or very close to Kinston. And there's some interesting facts that I thought was interesting. We're a large system in terms of facilities. 3/4 of our facilities are city-owned. Many facilities are above benchmark norms, which means like our gyms, we have more gyms. We're on the high end of gyms, but we are on the lower end of recreation fields, according to their standards. Indoor recreation and pickleball is more than double the national standard levels. Now, you hear pickleball all the time, but that just means one area might have a much. So in areas of the county, there may be a need for more pickleball. And the red on here, and I'll be happy to share this with you at the end of email it out to y'all. The red ends up areas we need more facilities, and the green and the blue is where the standards are at. Budget benchmarks, we're in the lower quartile according to McGill and Associates. Now, this is national standards. They're going to compare it with NC and Eastern NC down the road. So this is only just a snapshot. So that's one thing we requested is we want to see what Eastern North Carolina and what North Carolina has. So national's good, but sometimes national, we want to see what Eastern North Carolina's doing. Public input, as I said earlier, the surveys will be ending. We had, at the tree lighting, we had some public input there, as I think many of you were there. And this is a good test of what people, the top 5 choices from the public meetings, and a lot of it was nature trail, hiking. There was a few pickleball, and also tot lots, that kind of thing on playgrounds. So those were some just different inputs, and you'll see more of that out of these focus groups later. This was one of the king sites that the county was looking at from their site. This is out toward Barron and the Beef, and they're looking at some nature areas right there. And I'll be happy to forward that to you. This is just some general concept designs from the county. And they're really looking they're looking at the Caswell site, which could tie into Riverwalk. And this would be part of the Richard Caswell area. It could be some playgrounds, some nature hiking and camping areas right there. And like I said, I'll be happy to share that with y'all. The next steps, as McGill said, was close the survey, hold focus groups, and you will be contacted. Many of the council will be contacted on these. So you should see your email. They can't have a quorum, but they will have a smaller group sessions. So you should see that soon. They'll finish their assessments. Caswell site and King sites will be finished. Would it also look at staffing analysis? Do we have too many staff? Do we not have enough in certain areas? So do some centers have enough, or do some centers need more, less? So that's kind of where we're going to see that. And you'll see a final draft recommendations, and that'll help us on our capital improvement down the road. So, these areas are what we need to focus our capital projects next 5 to 7 years on, and it'll give us a list of those. So, and I'll be happy to share that with you as well. Any questions?
Thank you, Scott. Do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any questions from the council as it pertains to that update?
Yes, I'll forward that email.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Next, new subdivision streets, Butterfield and Briarpatch. Steve Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I'm doing coming attractions here tonight, I suppose. Just kind of giving you a little preview of some of the things that are going to be coming up at the next meeting and in the future here. We have 2 residential subdivisions in the city, Butterfield and Briarpatch, that the council entered into agreements with to get them developed. Both of those are moving along rapidly. All of the housing units in Briarpatch have been completed. Butterfield is in their 2nd year of development. They're closing in on 50 of the 64 units that they were supposed to build in their development being completed. And they're both at the point where they have met all of the requirements typically needed in order for the city to accept the city streets and bring them into our system for maintenance. So I just wanted to make y'all aware of that tonight. I included maps kind of showing the subdivisions and the streets that are going to be involved. What we wanted to talk about just a little bit, accepting a street sounds simple and easy. It's not difficult, but there are some other steps to that. If we bring a street into our city, that's gonna be part of our system, we have to set speed limits for it. We have to set traffic control measures for it. So setting the stop signs and the speed limits are separate ordinances that we will need to do as we accept the streets so that we can accomplish those things at the same time. So our staff's working on bringing all those things together. The Briarpatch subdivision is out along Briaree Run Road, if you're not familiar with that. It's townhomes, a little more open, but it's still fairly dense. The Butterfield subdivision is one right behind the mall, very dense, a lot of units in there, but they seem to be selling rapidly, so that's a good thing. So for both of those, we propose speed limits. We put those on the maps. For the Butterfield subdivision, we proposed a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit within that subdivision. So if you want to go out and ride those streets, see if you feel like those are appropriate, that's fine. Briarpatch, we're proposing 25 miles per hour. We had talked with their homeowners association when the new units got started. For the existing units, they were already concerned a little bit about traffic out there, so they'd be very supportive of that. What we will do, neither of these or any of these require any type of public hearing, but because there are residents living on those streets, we will reach out to those residents, make sure they're aware of the actions we're considering, and make them aware of the meeting where the actions will happen. So if they want to come up and voice their opinions either for or against the actions, they can certainly do that just as part of your regular public comment period. We can set a public hearing if you're interested in that. But like I said, it's not required. So if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them at this time. We'll be bringing more information at the next meeting when we put those actions on the agenda.
Thank you, Steve. Chair recognizes anybody. Any questions?
Mr. Miller, I would like to ask that we consider making the speed limit for the new streets as well as the existing portion of Briarwood and Briarpatch down to 15 miles per hour like we're doing with Butterfield. I've already had some concerns with the speeding that has been out there since the pave. It is an extremely smooth road now, and that has just caused people to just go way too fast out there. And I think it would just help with both enforcement from the homeowners association, as well as if our law enforcement ever have to get called if we have a more strict and lower speed limit, because it's a very slow paced neighborhood, but there has been a lot more speeding traffic more recently.
Okay.
And thank you for that input. Also, can I give you a list of streets that or a subdivision that we could reduce the speed limit in? Also, I'm good right now. I'll get back with you. But thank you very much. But 15 is sufficient, I believe, in the subdivision. I believe that's the sufficient speed normally set. It's 10 to 15 normally in the subdivision. However, that's the normal speed. I think 25 will be too much, for sure. But thank you, Steve. And any further discussion from the council as it relates to this? Hearing none, seeing none, we move on to Safer Streets Grant Award. Steve Miller.
Yes, sir. Back in the fall, Henry McLean of our staff put together a grant application package to apply for a Safer Streets for All grant to complete a comprehensive safety action plan. The city of Kinston has never had one of these. In fact, Lenore County has never had one of these.
Right.
So we are very excited to have been awarded the grant. It is a grant of $280,000. The estimated total cost with the local match is $350,000. And the focus will be to gather traffic data within the city, look at causes of accidents, injuries, damage, and seeing what things could be considered to make improvements to that. It'll involve putting together a stakeholder group of folks to look at the data and put together the recommendations and developing the full plan. Once we get that plan developed with the grant, then it does open up the opportunities for implementation funding of some of the improvements in the future after we adopt the comprehensive safety plan. So we're excited about it. We're looking forward to it. We are waiting right now on the grant agency to give us all of the formal documentation, the grant agreements, so that we can get those things completed and then be able to move forward with the process.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you and your efforts in the team actually applying for that. So I do appreciate that. That's something that, like you said, never happened before in the city or the county. So I think it's a big deal for us and have an impact on the city and the county as it relates to safer streets. Moving on to item number 3, Senate Bill 166, utility-related implications. Steve Miller.
All right, this one's not quite so lovely news. Senate Bill 166 made its way through the Senate and the General Assembly back last summer. It's what they call an omnibus bill. There's little pieces that affect a lot of different regulations they put together. The General Assembly passed the bill, sent it to the governor vetoed it. But when the General Assembly got back together in September, they overrode the veto and turned it into a law. So it's now officially Session Law 2024-49. It affects us in a lot of different areas by the changes that they made in the regulations. I'm just going to touch on some of these. The staff and other departments are looking at this a little bit too to see what it means. Officially, the parts and components of this law went into effect January 1st. So they are in effect. So if we run into a situation where what was passed in this bill conflicts with what our ordinances are until we can get our ordinances adjusted, we won't be able to enforce our ordinance. We'll have to meet what the law is, even though it's not in place yet. But most of these changes won't take a lot, but they do affect us in a lot of different ways. So just briefly, the first part of the bill talks about backflow preventers. This has been a long-standing program to put devices on water surfaces, so whatever the customer is doing can't come back on the system, make other people sick. Most people are familiar with Camp Lejeune and the things that they went through down there with contamination. However, what they've done in this rule, they've now made it where we can only require existing services to install a backflow preventer if they're considered a high health hazard. Under the old rule and under our ordinances, if you weren't a high health hazard, you still had to put a preventer in. It wasn't the same type of preventer, but that way everybody had a backflow preventer. You can't do that anymore. They've taken that away. They did include wording in here to absolve the local water system from all the liabilities from any type of contamination that could happen, because they're not going to have us be able to put these preventers in, but it is a big change in that. Another thing it did on here, it made testing for backflow devices right now is annual. If they're installed, they have to be tested annually, and the report provided to us. For residential irrigation services without chemical feeds, you can only require tests every 3 years now. Our problem for us is that we don't know who's got chemicals and who doesn't. Once the customer puts it in, they can pretty much do what they want in their house, and we're not going to know. So it's going to be hard for us to separate that. A couple other things that they had in here. They put in a limit on reviewing plans for residential buildings. They have to be done in 20 days. They made it where an entity can no longer withhold a building permit or a certificate of occupancy if all of the site improvements are not complete, unless the improvement that's not complete is related to public health. So if they don't do their landscaping, they don't put their trees up, they don't do things like that, we can no longer hold them to it. All they have to do is provide us a letter promising to do it. So that's what they've put in there. That affects us in a couple of parts of our UDO. They put another requirement in here for sidewalks, that for small residential developments that are in the ETJ, we can't require them unless the city is willing to maintain the sidewalks out in the ETJ, which we don't today. We don't maintain anything outside the city limits as far as sidewalks or streets. Driveways, they put another requirement in here for private driveways. States now that the city must accept private driveway designs that do not meet NCDOT minimums as long as they're sealed by an engineer. So if they don't meet our standards, which we use NCDOT for our driveway standards, as long as the developer or the person doing it gets an engineer to sign it, we have to accept it. And that includes the driveways, parking lots, everything all the way out to the street. Let's see, the infrastructure in development agreements, the city must inspect it within 30 days. That's not a big deal. But they included a clause in here that says if the city and the developer disagree on whether infrastructure that was built under the developer agreement meets city requirements, the developer can get a certification from an engineer and the city has to accept it. So if we say it's not complete and he gets an engineer to say it is, we have to accept it. And then lastly, there were some other minor things for electric services. At this point, you can't include, if people are putting electric vehicle chargers on their property, at their home or their business, you can't include that in determining the load rating for the electric service. Stormwater BMPs, where the developer or person has to maintain the BMP. We used to be able to require that there be a note on the plat for the for the property that stated there was an O&M manual or agreement that they had to follow. We can't do that any longer. You can put it in the deed, but you can't put it on the plats, which may make it a little bit harder to convey from one property owner to another and make them aware of them. So just so you're aware of these, like I said, the other departments are going to be looking to see if there's other impacts from this bill, but we'll be working on the revisions to our ordinances that we have to do for the issues that I mentioned tonight and getting those before you, maybe at the work session or maybe February by the time we get them all together. So I'll be glad to try to answer any questions. Like I said, this bill was a lot of little changes like that really do have some impacts on municipalities and local governments.
Hey, Steve, question for you real quick. You said these for residential, but not commercial?
For which one?
I said, these requirements that you're speaking of, are they only on residential or is it, commercial as well?
So many of them would apply for both.
Oh.
So they're not solely residential.
Let me get back to the agenda. Sorry about that. I was just thinking about a whole lot before I was responding to make sure I didn't say, say the right thing or the appropriate thing. Thank you for that, Steve Miller. Senate Bill 166. And however, didn't one individual raise any question? When I say individual, I'm talking about our legislators about Senate Bill 166. So, as it relates to that, we make sure that we do a follow up. I'll do a follow up on the items or the things that we don't think that are absolutely not in the best interest of cities and towns. However, so if you would, let's take a look at it and see what it would look like. The bill is passed now, but we always can voice our concerns as it relates to those issues. But I do thank you for going through that with a fine tooth. Because I read some of it, but I was like, okay, does this really affect us or is it not? But you just made it perfectly clear. And I can assure you probably no other elected officials were called and asked their opinion about the omnibus bill that they passed. However, but thank you so much for the efforts. Yeah.
On that same vein, Mayor Hardy, I want to really appreciate you for your advocacy for the city of Kinston and other cities at the state and federal level when you meet with and advocate for us to our legislators. I've mentioned before that I really have a desire for the city of Kinston to develop a legislative agenda. I know in the past there have been resolutions we've adopted before of some of our legislative priorities. Many of it is shared by the North Carolina League of Municipalities or National League of Cities, and we just adopt similar resolutions. At this point, we've seen the fact that, particularly at the state level, our state General Assembly consistently works in the disfavor of municipalities, of cities, towns, and villages here in North Carolina. They consistently preempt us and try to act like they know what's best about how our planning departments, our public services, our utilities should operate when we are the local leaders that our communities have elected to govern our cities. And so I really want us to circle back to, and this might be something that comes up in the strategic planning session we'll have later this month, but we need to get back to developing a legislative agenda for the city of Kinston of what our priorities are, and then actively working as a body to advocate those priorities to our General Assembly members, to our members of Congress, so that they know that we are for certain policies or we're against certain policies. Because even in addition to this Senate bill, there were also some legislation included in the state's most recent budget that also impacted cities in North Carolina. So I've also expressed a desire that I want us to hire a lobbyist, because it is difficult for us as city council members to always, to constantly go to Raleigh or DC or wherever and advocate on behalf of the city of Kinston. Many other cities in North Carolina of similar size to ours, or that are starting to see the type of development that we want to see in the city of Kinston, have employed lobbying firms to advocate on their behalf. That's something that we should consider as well. I think we're in a position financially that we can start to have those types of conversations. So if we need someone beyond ourselves to advocate for our interests, that's something we really need to consider now, because we keep giving state representatives in North Carolina a pass at doing some of the crazy stuff. Not to get political, but there's just crazy stuff happening in our state legislature. And the first line of defense for our citizens are their local elected leaders. So I just want us to start having more conversations on what we can do as elected officials to mitigate some of the harm being done and some of the preemption being done by our state representatives in Raleigh.
Also, let me just add to that, the closest thing to a lobbyist that we do have is the North Carolina League of Municipalities. But they advocate for every city and town across our state that's a member. So right now, the legislative goals, and I'm gonna just hit a few of those right now that they're pushing to the General Assembly. Right now, for cities and towns, expanding funding opportunities for disaster resilience and recovery efforts. That's one. Establish long-term and funding streams adequately to address water, sewer, stormwater, transportation, and infrastructure needs. Looking at expanding state transportation funding streams for construction and maintenance of municipal and state-owned secondary roads. The increased funds to remediate contamination in local water supplies. And we'll go back to that again. Expand incentives funding for local economic development. Create incentives to encourage the development of diverse housing options. Providing resources to rehabilitate or purchase blighted properties. Create incentives that encourage and adequately fund regionalized water and sewer solutions. Reduce regulatory conflicts between state agencies that discourage voluntary consolidation, merger, and interconnection of municipal utility systems. Looking at creating an orphan road whereby the state improves those roads to North Carolina Department of Transportation standards before municipalities assume maintenance responsibilities. Looking at providing local revenue options beyond the property tax. And I'm gonna just read this. Roughly 40% of municipal general fund revenue is generated by local property taxes. Cities have little to no authority to raise significant revenues in other ways. A lack of diverse local tax options can affect economic growth as well as it cause large swings in revenue based on economic changes. So they're advocating on that level, on that note as well, supporting technical assistance programs to assist municipalities with securing or maintaining grants or other necessary municipal resources. I'm reading these for a reason, and I'll get back in just a second. Address the needs of changing municipal workforce through state assistance that supports employee retention, including training and recruitment. And updating the annexation petition thresholds to make voluntary annexations easier to initiate. Also looking at preserving authority for extraterritorial jurisdiction to ensure that growth is well planned and investments by homeowners and business owners are protected. And last but not least, protect the ability of municipal elected officials acting on behalf of local voters to determine election formats, districts, and other election matters currently under their purview. All of these goals are hopefully policy that may or may not become approved. But all of these are city maintained controlled bills or ideas, goals. And these are the things that the NCLM are advocating for. I, as a representation of the city, will be voting for these because this is what city and towns need across our state, not just Kinston. LaGrange, our adjoining communities. It's very important that we advocate for those because understanding that if we don't advocate for our brothers and sisters that are around us, there are some folks that are not advocating for them. But you get more bang for your buck for a regional approach. And this is where we are in advocating for what we need in the eastern part of North Carolina. So I just wanted to throw that out there just to let you know these are the legislative goals currently right now that when we meet again, or the NCLM meeting, is what we'll be voting on. So I wanted to read it and let you know about it to make sure that you're tracking and hopefully if you have any questions, and I would love to entertain those questions as it relates to these, and or to staff, Steve, and all those that are working diligently behind the scenes to advocate for what we need most in our city. But I just wanted to point it out and let you know what we're doing, what NCLM is doing for us, advocating for us. But like Councilmember Sykes was saying, there is a time that we will need somebody at the General Assembly that's advocating for us and for us only and for the needs of us. So hopefully we'll take a look and see what it look like in the future and figure out how we could put that in place. Having said that, Mr. Attorney, would you like to entertain anything further?
Well, I just share the sentiment that it's a further erosion of local control that I've seen for the last 10 years. So anything you can do to slow the train is a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Anything from the council?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody that I haven't said Happy New Year to. Looking forward to another year on the council and working with this great council members to advocate for this great city. And I just want to thank all our staff and continue to move forward and hang in there with us.
I just wanted to make a request from Director Blount. And I don't know if it could be done by the next meeting or the meeting maybe in February or so. But is it possible for you to get us, to share with us like the number of vape shops that are in the city of Kinston specifically, and to possibly search out ordinances from other municipalities referencing vape shops? I will be so kind to give you till February. Thank you.
And to that note, Ms. Blunt, I have some notes I'll get to you. I can't recall which meeting it was. One of our previous meetings last year, I mentioned something about this too and began gathering some notes. I think it's time for a zoning change to eliminate some of that activity.
Too many of
And so it's clear everybody's already on one accord that we'll need to address that. But I just kind of envision that it will probably look something like the ordinance that has, is it like the churches? Like
Yeah.
there's like the distance, maybe, yeah. But if you could just kind of show us what other municipalities have, we appreciate it.
Separation from churches, schools, and residential.
And within each other.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Woo.
Any further discussion from the council? All right, Manager Bart.
I just had two quick reminders for the council. You should have in your email box an email about strategic planning, getting that scheduled. We're working with David Bone from the Eastern Carolina Council. The dates he offered were January 28th, 29th, and 30th, I believe. But again, you've got an email if you'll go through and just use the doodle poll and click what times work best for you. We'll choose the one that meets most everybody's schedule. And the other item really for the audience, I know we talked about it earlier, but just to remind the folks out there, if you're a nonprofit and you're interested in applying for the council's organizational support grant, please go online, City of Kinston official website under the Finance Department. You will see organizational support. There is a great web page there that tells you all about the grant. It connects you to an application. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call my office, 93932. Oh, I'm about to do that, wasn't I? My old number, 252-939-3111. And I will help you, or we'll get you to someone in finance who can help you as well. But February 1st is the deadline, so get those applications in.
All right, thank you, Manager Bart. Having said that, there being no further discussion, I entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. There's second.
Second.
So moved and probably second. Under discussion. Under discussion. Under discussion. Hearing none and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.